Alrighty, we are streaming. So we should be able to pull up the YouTube page and
see ourselves.
See that happening right about now. I always forget where it is you're supposed to go on the page, though. I'm still getting there.
Well, actually, I don't know for I guess the website version.
The what?
For the browser version.
Oh yeah, because you're pulling it up on the phone. Okay.
So the weird thing is, like, I see last week's episode.
Yeah.
But
you know there's a delay.
No, not just that. For some reason, it still shows 4:15 live above it.
Which is yeah, I have to figure that out because Tina messaged that to me and I went and looked and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, at the time, because she was looking at it on the ride back.
Yeah, it's right there.
See, yeah, but it's not the first one.
What is this one?
4:15.
Why does it say 4:15 by default?
I don't know.
Because I'm going to have to go back in and change it some posts.
Yeah, I think it's something about the live stream. It says 4:15 by default.
Okay. Well, that's fixable.
Okay.
I'll fix that in post. We're going to have to look at that. Because there we are,
but
as
then,
our beautiful selves.
Yeah, I mean, we see it now. But yeah, when you save the video, you could put, I guess, a title, but for some reason...
Yeah, I do. I go back and change it.
Yeah, but the live one has that default 4:15 one.
So okay, but then that must mean there's something in the live stream that you have to go in and tell it that. So I'm going to have to look at that one in post. If you see the show and you know the answer to that, go ahead and post it in the comments. And that'll save me some time. But otherwise, I'm going to have to handle this tonight. All right, here we go.
Zoom in a little bit. Let's see.
Do it. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
On this episode of the CultureSmash cast, everybody's sick.
Everybody's sick.
Everybody's sick. It's a CultureSmash cast, episode 482 for January the 30th, 2019. I'm Stephen Lackey, editor of CultureSmash.tv.
Nicholas Qualls, contributor to CultureSmash.tv.
And if you're on the live stream feed, here, take a look. That's it. That's all there is. Everyone else is sick or something.
Or playing Kingdom Hearts.
Or playing Kingdom Hearts. What is it, 3? 2?
3.
It's 3?
It's the 10th game, I think. But it's officially in the line. It's
the third one. That's where we know Tina is right now, for sure. And Dwayne has been home all day. That's what he texts me. I have been home all day. So you know what he's doing. Yeah. If you work with Dwayne, if you happen to work at the same company as him, I'm telling him right now. He's home playing Kingdom Hearts all day. So, and I know that Zach is not home playing Kingdom Hearts all day, but he played Resident Evil 2 all weekend.
That makes sense.
That was his thing. And, with that in mind, I tried to finish Resident Evil 7, and my Xbox crapped out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
So it's the second one, though. So the first one crapped out.
Yeah.
And I took it and swapped it in. And, when you do a swap, they don't charge you anything. It's warranty coverage. But they give you a refurb one.
As long as you're on the warranty.
As long as you're on the warranty. Yeah, which I was. So they gave me a refurb one, which I promptly brought home, and it overheated.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I'm not dealing with the store anymore because dealing with them was kind of asinine. So I sent it in the mail. We'll see what happens. I'll give an update in 6 to 10 days.
Eventually, you'll get to play Resident Evil.
Eventually, I'll finish Resident Evil 7 and then get to play
Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2, which I hear is great.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
I hear is really good. All right, so let's jump into this because it's just me and you.
Well, do we have a sponsor we're going to talk about?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. So, Catherine's not here to do it as eloquently. So, our sponsor is Social. It is a sparkling wine. If you go to 88 Social, socialenjoyments.com, you will see that it is a delicious sparkling wine. We have coconut, toasted coconut right here, and we also have the ginger and ginger hibiscus one, which is also amazing. I love these as mixers. That's my favorite thing. Like, I think I posted on the Social Facebook page that I was doing this one and some rum, and it is an amazing, delicious.
That would probably work.
Post heavy day cocktail.
I'm not a big coconut fan, but I like the ginger making a mule out of it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. And we're going to do that on the show. I want to get some, because while Social is not local, like necessarily a Nashville based, like Nashville created, we were one of the first states to get it. So if you look up Social Enjoyments or 88 Social online, you'll find their page. They're gluten free, and it's 88 calories a can. It's 4 or 5% alcohol, so you'll enjoy it. You'll have a good social time, but you won't like fall down the steps and not remember what happened to you. But look and see.
What's the point?
Well, you just have to drink more of them. It's only 88 calories, right? But it's really tasty. They have a number of flavors. The cucumber one is also really good. It's refreshing. It's light. It's not like drinking a beer where you feel like you're going to die from the weight of it. Mm-hmm. It's tasty stuff. Again, 88 Social or socialenjoyments.com, 88 Social on Instagram. You'll see all of the cool stuff they got happening there. And we're going to have them back on the show, and they can tell their story about where social came from and all that in a few weeks. So let's move on. Let's talk about movies.
All right, movies. On the box office, number 10 this past weekend is Mary Poppins Returns. As soon as my screen wants to work, that was not.
You blew it.
I did blow it. Mary Poppins Returns. It made $3.3 million, 165.2 so far out of $130 million budget. So Mary Poppins did return some cash.
All right.
Number 9, we have Escape Room. It made $4.1 million, total $47.7 million out of a $9 million budget.
Oh wow,
that's made some money. New this week at number 8 is Serenity, not the Firefly movie.
Not the Firefly movie. Yeah. I wish it was Serenity Part 2.
The Matthew McConaughey and Hathaway movie, $4.4 million, and that is all it's made so far. We don't know the budget.
I want to see it though.
I want to see it, but I also get the feeling that a lot of people didn't know what kind of movie it was from the trailer.
You know what it reminds? You ever see the movie? It's a Kevin Bacon movie from I think it's the '90s called Wild Things.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of that a little bit, like this sort of steamy, like sexy kind of mystery thriller thing. And to me, when you see the trailer for Serenity, it feels very of the late '80s, early '90s.
I think it does. Yeah.
So that's enough for me. I'm in, and the cast is good, so I'm gonna see it.
Yeah. Number 7, we have A Dog's Way Home at $5.1 million. It's made $30.7 million so far out of an $18 million budget.
A movie I'm not gonna see.
No. Number 6, we have Green Book at $5.4 million. It's made $49 million so far out of a $23 million budget.
Green Book is really good. Green Book was nearly in my favorite films of last year. You should see it. It's really good.
Number 5, also really good, is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at $6.1 million. It's made $169 million out of a $90 million budget.
Dang.
Yeah.
You know the best part of that means we'll get another one.
Oh yeah, we're totally gonna get another one.
Yeah, it's great.
It's gonna be great. Number 4, new this week, is The Kid Who Would Be King, a family film at $7.1 million, and we don't know the budget yet. That's all it's made so far.
Yeah.
Number 3. I like that 3, 2, and 1 are unchanged from last week.
Exactly.
Number 3 is Aquaman at $7.2 million. It's made $316.4 million. We don't know the budget yet. Probably less than that.
Probably. That movie came out at Christmas, and it's still in the top 3.
Number 2 is The Upside at $11.9 million. It's made $62.8 so far out of a $37.5 million budget.
That's a lot of money for that movie.
That is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I think it's the feel good movie of the season. There's not really much competition for that.
It's also FU January.
Yeah, that's
so there's
true.
nothing good coming out really.
Yeah, and number 1, speaking of that, is Glass at $18.8 million. Jumped an 8. $18.8 million. It's made $73.4 million out of a $20 million budget.
I'm having PTSD from how mad I got at that movie. It's so bad. Yeah. It's like bad beyond bad. So we had our fantasy film ball game bidding a couple weeks ago for the spring, and the game has begun because some of the movies are out. Mm-hmm. Escape Room is out. I'll just tell you. I've got the numbers here to see how we're doing so far. We'll look at the movies that are actually out.
No one is here to gloat.
No one is here to gloat, but that's probably a good thing because of who's winning. So right now, what's out is, of course, Kid Who Would Be King came out. Glass is out. Serenity is out. On the Basis of Sex. Yeah, that came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
A Dog's Way Home. The Upside and Escape Room are all the movies that are out. And Escape Room is actually our first 4-week movie. It's done as of this week.
All right.
Yeah. So here's the numbers as they are so far. I currently have no money because I only have one movie in the game. Sadly, right now, Zach is winning. So that's why maybe it's good that he's not here. Because he's at the top of the charts with 110 almost 111 million. Ada has no money. Mike has
11.5.
Nathan has 73. Then Catherine has nothing yet because her movies aren't out. Hector has 17. And
I've got nothing.
You've got nothing, and Tina has 30, almost 31. She's over the halfway mark. So that's where we are. It's really early in the game, but that's the numbers as they stand so far. So sadly, right now, it's good that Zach's not here. Because
just to recap, in case anybody's new, we do a fantasy phone ball every 3 months or 4 months to see who will bet the most on what movies are going to come out. And so far, I'm not having anything because I only have Captain Marvel and some other movies.
Exactly. Your movies are mid to the end. Yeah. So and we passed a trophy around. Of course, the first time Zach got it, he broke the...
Yeah, he did. Although I like it. It's asymmetrical now.
Yeah, it kind of suits us in a way. So there it is. One of us is going to take this home at the end of the block. So that's our numbers so far. That's where we're at. So what coming out this weekend, it looks like a crappy weekend. I do want to see Miss Bala, though. Do you know this movie?
No, I don't know Miss Bala.
It has, pull it up real quick. I'm trying to remember all the cast. Let's see. It's a small movie. It honestly looks like something that Robert Rodriguez would have done. I don't know.
I do know that movie now. Yeah. The moment you said Robert Rodriguez, yes.
Doesn't it look like Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah, it's the woman gets kidnapped by a drug cartel and then tries to infiltrate them. She gets tapped by DEA to.
I was hoping to see the cast, agent. But I didn't.
I know Gina Rodriguez.
Gina Rodriguez is the only one I know, and that's enough. Yeah, that's enough for me. She looks like a badass. Like it's that whole like growth story where she isn't a badass, but then she has to become to like revenge, have the revenge, which is enough for me. That comes out this weekend. There's no rating, so I guess no one's seen it yet. They Shall Not Grow Old is opening wider this weekend. It's at 98%. That's the documentary, the Peter Jackson documentary. Arctic, which I don't know anything about. I
think Arctic is a Mads Mikkelsen movie where he's trapped. Like he and somebody else crash land in the Arctic, and he's trying. It's a survival movie.
Oh. I'd watch that.
I think it's that.
It's 81% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. Mads Mikkelsen is in a movie on Netflix right now.
Yeah, Polar. Yeah, which is oddly named similarly. No, not yet.
I watched it.
It looks up my alley.
Before we go further, Velvet Buzzsaw, which I know nothing about, is 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I thought that was also a Netflix movie.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It was in their new releases list, so maybe it's getting some limited theater run or something.
I know Jake Gyllenhaal's in that movie.
Yeah. So I watched Polar. Because all the hype, everyone keeps telling me, oh, if you like The Punisher and you like John Wick, you should watch Polar. Well, I don't really think that matches. It looks more like somewhere around Shoot 'em Up to me.
Okay.
It's a little more comic booky in its violence and in
cartoony.
Its stylish look to it. It has the big pop-up names in front of people when they do something and all that. So it felt more like Shoot 'em Up or Smoking Aces to me. Yeah. But Mads Mikkelsen, he carries the entire movie on his shoulders because everybody else is just okay. But he's great. It's fun to watch. And it is pretty heavy on the comic book violence. So not as disturbing as The Punisher was. The Punisher season 2 is like literally disturbing me in its level of violence, and I loved it.
I do like how they went with a very visceral feel with The Punisher on Netflix. They do a good job capturing it, and we won't get any more. So that's depressing.
Has it officially been canceled?
No, I don't think I haven't seen an official Netflix drops Punisher, but we've got.
They probably won't do it yet because people are still watching.
Maybe. They dropped Daredevil not too terribly long after Daredevil season 3. Yeah, it was further along than say we are now from Punisher 2 releasing. But still, I'm highly certain Daredevil was the bread and butter of the Marvel shows that Netflix has. And if they drop that one,
they're going to drop everything.
They're going to drop everything.
Yeah. Now the upside for me is if Punisher were to stop right now where it ended, I'm good with that ending.
That's good.
I'm good with where it ends. You haven't watched it yet?
No, I haven't seen. Not season 2. I've seen season 1. I love season 1. I'll get to season 2.
And I was mediocre on season 1, but season 2 is like,
it's good.
Holy crap! All right, let's get into it.
All right, Nick Cage has been set to star in Color Out of Space, a horror film based on terror master H.P. Lovecraft's 1927 novella. The film will be directed by South African filmmaker Richard Stanley in his first feature in 20 years.
Wow.
For Cage, it's a routine with producer Spectre Vision after last year's hit revenge thriller Mandy. And principal photography is set to start next month. Jolie Richardson, Tommy Chong, Elliot Knight, Julian Hillian, and Kieran Kilcher join Cage.
Wow, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was. Join Cage in the cast of A Pick, which is centered around the Gardeners, a family who moves into a remote New England farmstead to escape the hustle of the 21st century. They're busy adapting to their new life when a meteorite crashes into the front yard. It seems to melt into the earth, infecting both the land and the properties of space-time with a strange, otherworldly color. And to the family's horror, they discover the alien force is gradually mutating every life form that touches, including them.
Okay.
That sounds...
I'm in. I'll watch that.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested, too.
I mean, I'm not so into the Lovecraft thing, though.
I like aspects of Lovecraft. Mm-hmm. I don't really care for Lovecraft himself, but some of the way that I like otherworldly horror.
Yeah,
I think it's a cool way to do horror.
So it's like that weird sci-fi horror.
Yeah,
hybrid. Yeah, I like
exactly.
That.
I like the sci-fi horror hybrid aspect of it, which is really neat. And depending on the version of the Cage we're gonna get, I'm sure it's gonna be highly entertaining one way or the other.
I mean, if he's going to try and be the Nick Cage from Mandy, I did not like Mandy. I thought Mandy was kind of art house elitism, wrapped up in a horror movie, and I didn't like it, but I liked him. Mm-hmm. I mean, you should see it once, just to see him. So if he's going to be working with those same folks again, it could be really cool. I'm in.
All right. Next up, Hulu is on the verge of pulling off a neat trick. Deal sources place around $2 million for the untitled Amazing Jonathan documentary. The Ben Berman-directed film premiered last Friday at The Mark, competing at the U.S. documentary competition at Sundance. The film charts the changing journey for Berman after he began a doc called The Amazing Jonathan about a uniquely deranged magician who built a career out of shock and deception in the 80s. But after Jonathan was diagnosed with a terminal heart condition and given a year to live, he was forced to retire, and Berman seemed to not have a film anymore. 3 years later, though, Jonathan didn't die, and Berman filmed The Illusionist on an epic comeback tour. And then things happened that apparently led the filmmaker to question what was truth and illusion. So
I have to see this movie.
This sounds like a fascinating documentary.
I have to see this.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me excited too, this is specifically, more, it's in my wheelhouse, the documentary situation, but I love to see Hulu starting to push, to take in, because Netflix would have bought that in 2 seconds. And they said it was an auction. So can you imagine?
They were probably trying to outbid each other. Yeah, sure.
I would love to see that. So this was...
I'd love to see the bidding.
Yeah, so this was at Sundance, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think their bidding is as aggressive as our phone ball bidding, though. No one's as
things
aggressive. I don't...
Well, if it's like last time, do they eat a spicy hot pepper nuts
pre-bidding? They should do that. They should do that. I think they should. I don't know anything about this story.
I don't know the story either. It sounded vaguely familiar when I read this story. I vaguely remember that this was a thing that was in production. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I don't really know what happened. So it sounds like a really cool thing to go in cold. Mm-hmm. I don't want to know anything about The Amazing Jonathan.
Yeah, all they did, of course, this happens during Sundance, so there's no release date or anything. They just bought it, so we'll just have to see what happens with it. But I'm in.
I'm into.
I need these things to help push me over the edge to move away from Netflix because I'm annoyed with Netflix because they're getting so expensive.
Yeah, going up $2 when Hulu's going down. I need to see if T-Mobile, which is my cell carrier, does a deal where you can get Netflix added on possibly. Right. I need to check to see if that is worthwhile.
Also, that Spotify Hulu combo pack.
That is a pretty good combo too. Mm-hmm. I don't use Spotify all that much,
but you would if you had premium.
That's true.
I mean, what do you use for music mostly?
Amazon usually.
The Amazon Music?
Amazon's got a decent collection, and Tina does do the premium version. So
okay.
Our Echo in that apartment has all of that.
Well, and you can do that. My Spotify is tied into my Echo.
Yeah, that does work.
So. Speaking of that, let's move into TV. I mean, we're really progressing along. There's only two of us.
It's going to be our fastest episode ever.
Oh, before we go to TV, though, you mentioned something about Bad Boys. You want to comment on that real quick?
Oh, yeah. So Will Smith's Instagram account posted a video of him and Martin Lawrence on the set of the third Bad Boys movie, Bad Boys for Life. So we know it's being made. We know it for a fact. It is in production now, just because we have footage.
So did you look it up? Because I did look it up the other day, and the thing, and this is going to sound really weird, but the thing that disappointed me when I looked it up was that Michael Bay is not on it anywhere.
He's not?
He is not. And I looked up the director. Let's see. I'll tell you. It was a guy who hasn't done much. I think it's actually two guys, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they haven't done much. I don't know how to go about the...
Adil Al-Arbi and
Bilal Fallah. Yeah, when you look them up, I mean, literally, they've partnered on other projects together, but it's like indie films and short films is what they have. And I don't know, why is Michael Bay not on the new Bad Boys? How is that a thing that happens?
That's so weird.
They directed, and it's written by Chris Brenner, who I don't know, but the story is written by Joe Carnahan, who is a great pick.
Yeah,
I think Joe Carnahan is he can really hit or he can really miss. It's hard to tell with him sometimes, but in that sort of comedic action genre, that he's a good one to pick. But let's say Joe Carnahan writes the story, and then Will Smith and Martin Lawrence riff off of it and ad lib and do the things that they used to do that were really great together. But when I saw that this was happening, I immediately went and looked on IMDb, and there's no Michael Bay anywhere.
It's kind of weird. Jerry Bruckheimer is still producing.
He's still producing, yeah. But he's an old dude. You know, he's been around a long time.
But yeah, that's true. But it is quite fascinating. I did not really realize that Michael Bay was not coming back.
And so my emotions on it are mixed. I mean, it's not that I think Michael Bay is a good filmmaker, because as a general rule, at least in the last 10, 15 years, he's not been.
Well,
but he knew how to do this.
Yeah.
This he could do. We were talking about this in the pre-show. Back in the 80s and 90s, he could do The Rock and Con Air and those kind of... I don't know if he actually directed Con Air. I think his name is on it, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he directed that one. But The Rock is definitely Michael Bay.
The Rock was definitely Michael Bay. I think it... Because, and one of the reasons was that I gave pre-show was because Michael Bay is great at that surface level kind of action, cotton candy stuff. Whereas I felt in Transformers...
No, Simon West directed Con Air. Simon West is another guy. He hasn't done anything good in a long time. And Con Air was maybe the only thing he did well. But it was in that same genre of sort of heavy, high action, high concept, comedic fun. But
it's very much one of those, like, don't think about the plot, because the plot is just a vehicle to get the action and to get the characters here. The plot is going to be full of holes and not make any sense. And I got the idea that with the Transformers franchise in particular, Michael Bay tried to give it some more gravity, some more depth, not more necessarily weight in terms of social impact or anything,
right?
But just made it less fun because of that. But still also tried to put in some of the slapsticky humor in it, which was
probably why that slapsticky humor didn't work.
No, exactly.
Because the I don't know, the tone was never.
That's why I stopped watching after 3.
Yeah. Now I will say this: you should watch Bumblebee.
Yes, Bumblebee, which is not directed by Michael Bay.
Directed by him. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like an Iron Giant remake, but that's not a bad place
and I think that's ultimately what needed to be done. I think the franchise needed to change director hands a long time ago. So it's good that it did that.
It's so funny to say that on one hand and then be upset that Michael Bay is not on Bad Boys on the other.
But we're looking at track record of franchises.
Yeah.
The track record of Bad Boys, those are both fun movies.
Yeah.
But the track record of Transformers is not the same.
Not the same. So my excitement is tempered just a little bit. But what do they look like? I didn't look at the video. Do they look good? I mean, Will Smith still looks the part.
Will Smith actually looks thinner now.
I haven't seen Martin Lawrence in a long time.
Martin Lawrence looks a little bit thicker, though.
Well, they're older now. They're in their 50s,
but they look fine. They look reasonable. Let's see.
They still look like the Bad Boys.
They look like the Bad Boys. They look like themselves.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I almost feel like Martin Lawrence can pick up the Danny Glover Lethal Weapon space now. Because he was on his way to that in Bad Boys. You know, I'm too old for this stuff.
He very much was essentially doing that.
Yeah, because in the second Bad Boys, the whole thing was about him retiring.
Yeah, and also like trying to keep... there we go. photo that our studio audience cannot see
they look
in
good.
their audio version.
Yeah,
but they look fine. Just look up Will Smith's Instagram account. It's there. It's just a video of them on set.
I mean, are they just clowning or
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't watched the full video, but it's just basically showing them around the set.
And I think we would have gotten a Bad Boys 3 a lot sooner if it wasn't for what happened with Martin Lawrence. You know, he went off his rocker for a long time. He had some mental issues that he wasn't dealing with.
Yeah, I also wonder if it was just priorities on Bay's part but I mean, it could be the fact that everybody else wanted a Bad Boys movie at this point, and Bay wasn't able to put it together, so that's why he's not doing it.
I mean, what's Michael Bay doing now? He's off the Transformers franchise too.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's see. What is he doing? Let me just do a quick look and see.
You
it's
know,
probably
he
something terrible.
He might be going to television.
Well, I mean, CSI, right? I mean, I always said that I wish Michael Bay would do a $50 million movie, which sounds like a lot of money still, but it's not for him.
Oh, no.
I would love to see what he
His
would do.
pyrotechnic budget has to be $50 million.
Exactly. All right, so let's go to... I want to see if he's directing something, just out of curiosity.
Scroll up.
Yeah.
There it is, director.
Yeah, so...
Those are all the producers.
This is producer?
Yeah, scroll back. There's director.
There's director. All right, so let's see.
Robopocalypse.
Are you serious right now? That's the name of the movie. In Sixth Underground, which is in post-production.
So that's the one he's working on, because the last one was The Last Night.
The Last Night. So he's got two movies, one announced. And I hope this is animated. I hope Robopocalypse is an animated film.
I don't know. I'm curious.
Wow, that sounds like a Roger Corman movie to me.
That would be great. Oh, Drew Goddard's
writing it. Oh crap! All of a sudden, I'm interested.
Oh man, this is gonna be fascinating.
Yeah. We don't have cast.
No, well, it's just announced. So
yeah. So Drew Goddard's writing with Michael Bay directing.
We will talk about Robopocalypse.
We will be talking about this.
Announced.
This will be something we're talking about, because I just picked up Bad Times at El Royale and watched it again.
Oh, that's such a good movie.
It's so good.
It's another Drew Goddard.
So Drew Goddard's in a good space right now. All right, let's get to TV.
All right, in TV, Michael Bay may be going to Resident Evil, which is heading to television on Netflix, who is developing a scripted series based on the hit horror action franchise. German production and distribution company Constantine Film, which was behind the Resident Evil movie franchise.
That's I was like, I know that name.
Yeah, that's loosely based on the Capcom video game series, is apparently the studio involved. Search is underway for a showrunner, so Michael Bay, if you're not doing anything, to shepherd the adaptation.
Exactly.
Now, we don't have details on the show. The film franchise that recently ended last year, 2016.
Yeah.
Originally started in 2002 with just Resident Evil. Consisted of 6 movies after Constantine had acquired the video game series rights.
5 terrible ones.
Yep. They were distributed by Screen Gems. Total earned $1.2 billion worldwide.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is the highest grossing film series ever based off of video games.
Well, that's a lot of subcategories of categories.
There's a lot of subcategories, a lot of but still, $1.2 billion is a lot of dollars.
The first Resident Evil will always be a guilty pleasure for me, but the rest, they're just not watchable. And I can say this having watched them.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen them all. So I don't know how I feel about a TV series, though. I mean is it going to be that much different than Walking Dead?
That's a good point.
I mean, it's going to be...
If it's more action-oriented.
Yeah.
Because, that's the whole point of Resident Evil, is a more action-oriented thing. Whereas Walking Dead, there are zombies, but it's
more drama.
It's drama about the people who are alive. And rarely, a lot of the times, you don't even bother with the zombies.
That's true. There can be an episode where there's no zombies in Walking Dead, and no one would be that surprised.
But, that's not at all the point for Resident Evil.
So I guess with Resident Evil, they could lean into the sci-fi stuff, too.
And I wonder what direction they're going to go with, because the Resident Evil, the video game franchise, if they lean heavily in the video games, has covered a lot of different areas.
Resident Evil 7 was a really big departure. I mean, Resident Evil 7 was basically a haunted house movie almost. I like the Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2 space the best. I like that era.
It's good that this is coming right on the heels of Resident Evil 2's remake,
which is supposed to be fantastic.
Getting rave reviews.
Yeah, Zach's been playing it all weekend. I asked him if he was going to... I text him, and I asked him in the text, I said, are you going to watch Rent Live on Sunday night? Yeah. And he texted me back, that's a weird way to spell Resident Evil 2. So I guess he didn't. We did watch that here, by the way, and it was terrible. It was torturous. Nathan and Catherine did cry during it, though.
Oh, okay.
They did.
That seems appropriate.
So it does seem appropriate. All right, so I'll watch this. I'll give it a go because being someone who's nostalgic for the games,
I'll give it a watch because I am nostalgic for the games, and I want to see what they do with it. I want to see them do something different than the movies. I don't want to see Mila Jovovich come back. Not that I have a problem with Mila Jovovich, but
Mila Jovovich was the only reason I gave them a shot.
It's just that story is dead. Mm-hmm. It's just we don't need it anymore.
Yeah, it was really dead after the first movie.
Oh yeah,
honestly. They just got to find a way to really differentiate themselves from Walking Dead and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of zombie stuff out. I mean, there's that zombie thing that's on CW. I know it's more of a comedy thing.
iZombie.
And isn't there another thing like Z Nation or something like that too?
That one sounds vaguely familiar.
I think on Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of zombie stuff. It's actually a little bit overdone right now.
Which is weird because I would have said it was overdone 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's zombies,
but it keeps coming back.
Well, yeah, I think this one keeps coming back just on the strength of the franchise itself, though.
Oh, speaking of zombies, I discovered on Roku. Do you have a Roku?
No.
Okay, so if you get a Roku, on Roku has that you can put apps on it like you can everything else. I think the Roku streaming device is the most intuitive of all the media players. I have the Apple TV. I've had Google Home, which is the Google one is the worst. I think Chromecast is the hardest to use. But
yeah, Chromecast is kind of a pain.
Yeah, the Roku though, they have Gravitas Ventures has their own free movie channel on there. And Gravitas Ventures does a lot of cool different stuff, documentaries and action films and comedies and all indie stuff and a lot of horror if you like horror stuff. And I discovered it and I was just flipping through it and there's a really great documentary on there about the making of Night of the Living Dead.
Oh.
George Romero's gone now. He's dead now. So there's a lot of interview time with him in that movie, and it's fascinating to see the things that they did to get that movie to happen because it was in the 60s and they were shooting on film and, they kind of just had to hack their way through it. And there's a lot of cheats that they did along the way. And he talks about why you can buy, like every other small distributor has it on distribution now. Because the movie was originally called Night of the Flesh Eaters. Mm-hmm. But when it was picked up for distribution, the distributor wanted it to be called Night of the Living Dead. And they changed the name on the film, but when they changed the name, they forgot to carry the copyright logo over.
Oh,
which opened the copyright to the film.
Why. Okay.
And now anybody who wants to put it out, it's public domain.
I always wondered, I never looked into it, but I always had this weird wonder, like, why is it public domain? Because it's not like the time for it to go into public domain.
Yeah, that's why it was. They accidentally left the copyright open. And he was talking about how when it went international, it made millions. Mm-hmm. They got nothing. Because everybody who was distributing it in the other countries were just keeping money because it was an open copyright.
Lessons learned.
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately for him, it was successful enough that he made a ton of other movies.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so go to Gravitas Ventures and take a look at all the cool stuff. But that one, thinking about zombies, that's a good one. Watch that documentary. It's just making of the Night of the Living Dead. Cool. What else we got?
Okay. Next up, I like how all the television stuff is all streaming services.
It is, because that's where TV is now.
CBS All Access has given a 10-episode order to The Stand, a new adaptation of Stephen King's bestselling novel, as a limited event. The project hails from Josh Boone, who directed Fault in Our Stars, and SEAL Team creator and executive producer Ben Cavill, as well as CBS Television Studios.
I don't know about that combo, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. The Fault in Our Stars movie was serviceable for the kind of movie it is.
Right.
I know Boone is also working on the New Mutants movie that is in production hell.
Well, that movie, it got put in turnaround before the Fox deal even happened.
It seemed, it was supposed to be released last spring, and then it got pushed to this spring, and then it got pushed to August.
And we had a trailer and everything.
Yeah, we had a trailer. The trailer was great, and there's been some rumors that it may go straight to Hulu. It may just go straight online. That's terrifying. But right now, it's still set for August. But Boone and Cavill pinned the adaptation already, with Boone set to direct. The Stand is Stephen King's apocalyptic vision of the world, decimated by plague and embroiled by an elemental struggle between good and evil. The fate of mankind rests on a frail shoulders of a 108-year-old Mother Abigail and a handful of survivors, and their worst nightmare is embodied in a man with a lethal smile and unspeakable powers, Randall Flagg, the Dark Man. So that's your quick summary of the
it's
huge book.
Yeah. Have you read the book?
No, I have not.
I haven't either. I've seen the miniseries.
It's one of those intimidating factors because if you see it's such a huge book. Boone and Cavill will executive produce with Forey Lee, Jimmy Miller, and Richard P. Rubenstein. Will Whiskey and Miriam Yoon are set to co-executive produce, as well as Owen King, son of Stephen King, will also produce.
Okay. And
CBS TV Studios is the studio to produce it. The project has been in development for CBS All Access for a while, but as we mentioned, there is a previous miniseries that was on ABC in 1994. Stephen King wrote the teleplay and had a minor role in that series as well, and it earned 6 Emmy nominations, winning 2 for sound mixing and makeup. So it's got a lot to measure up to.
And not just that. I like the original miniseries. It was led by Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
And it had Molly Ringwald.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a really good cast. The only problem that there was with that miniseries was the ending, and I think the ending actually kind of follows the book a little bit. And this is a common issue I have with Stephen King: is his world building and setup is amazing, and then sometimes at the end he's kind of like J. Michael Straczynski writing comics. Yeah, you can't stick the ending. Yeah,
man.
So maybe this remake will find a better ending. I mean, essentially the ending, it's so old now, I'm not going to worry about it, but I mean, it's the hand of God comes down and saves the day essentially in the last 5 minutes of the miniseries, and I'm like,
well, is other than like the Dark Tower, we're in an otherwise almost golden era of Stephen King adaptations. Like it was amazing. It was really good. He's had some series that about Netflix, movies that went straight to Netflix.
Yep.
They've been pretty decent as well.
Yeah, there's Gerald's Game. Everybody's talking about. It's good. I haven't watched it.
Was decent. The 1923, I think. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily a Stephen King produced material, but Castle Rock is very
Castle Rock is
inspired.
And it's based on a lot of his characters and things he's created.
It's got a lot of the aspects like Shawshank and other things are in there. It's an odd Stephen King multiverse story that isn't adapted from a specific Stephen King story, but it's great.
Yeah,
and I think it sticks the landing pretty well at the end of the season. But yeah, if this could fix that,
it'd be great.
It would be great.
And it's funny because CBS is actually with All Access, they're killing it.
They got a lot of content. They've Star Trek.
I signed up for Star Trek.
Yeah, and
then I dropped it after I watched season 1. But now I see like they've all these other cool shows coming out.
Yeah, they've got The Good Fight, No Activity, Strange Angel, Tell Me a Story, Why Women Kill, and more importantly, the new Twilight Zone is coming to CBS. And more Star Trek.
Yeah, more Star
Picard
Trek
series is going to be. The
Picard
new series of Discovery and
Yeah. So it's funny because CBS is, to me, has been like in the traditional world of the big 3 networks, has been behind for so long.
Yeah, it seems like they gave the keys to streaming to some intern who actually knows what they're doing, and they're managing that. Yeah. Because I still get the feeling of that from their television side, from the regular terrestrial television. Because I remember when CBS tried to do something that was more genre, like when they had Supergirl a few years ago, because that's where that show started. They
and Supergirl, while it has suffered in quality since it moved to CW, the franchise has thrived. Yeah. It's still going. Which is proof that they could have saved it. I mean, maybe their expectation of viewers is higher. They need more viewers to make it be profitable or something.
Well, I think if it was released a couple of years later, it would be on this. I think
that's true. It would be there.
What they probably do is they probably have a difference in demographic on their streaming versus their the terrestrial television.
It's just really funny to me because they seem like the old grandpa of traditional networks, but
because that's what their television content is.
Yeah. I mean, they live and breathe for so long off of their reality stuff like Survivor and all that.
But it's like CBS is doing a good job, I think, finding this new audience streaming.
NBC kind of is because they're hidden inside the world of Hulu.
Yeah, NBC though I think goes after a different target because they definitely are more the 30-minute sitcom comedy.
Yeah, they're audience. The family, kind of the family,
and it works. And I love that they picked up Brooklyn Nine-Nine because that's a show that
you guys have been posting. You and Tina have been posting about that a lot. You're like,
we just caught up.
Yeah.
So we spent the last couple of months starting and then catching up in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and where Fox would have canned the show would have been
a season. It would have been gone. Yeah.
Well, Fox it was 5 seasons on Fox, but the last season, like the
it went that long.
It went
Fox?
5 seasons on Fox.
Wow.
And the last episode of the last season, where it would have been the last episode if it not been picked up, would have been a horrible season ending because it's like it's a cliffhanger. It's like
I hate when they do that.
one of the characters gets an email. He's about to read the news. Like, okay, end of show. Wouldn't know until the next episode.
That's horrible. I don't even know what Fox is showing now. I don't know.
They have The Passage, which is some sort of.
I saw a commercial for that, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's some sort of plague vampire thing. It reminded me when I saw the trailers of The Strain.
Okay.
So there's that.
But it's going to be much milder than The Strain.
Yeah, probably.
The Strain was pretty gory.
Yeah, and it was on FX instead of Fox proper.
Right.
I don't actually know what else they have on television.
And they're still running The Simpsons.
They still are running The Simpsons.
Still got The Simpsons.
Orville. The Orville.
Oh,
Family
Orville.
Guy,
Yeah, I don't count Orville, though. It's so weird because I watch Orville on the Hulu.
On Hulu, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see Family Guy on Hulu, too.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things I can put on and let the episodes play while I'm doing stuff. Yeah. Alrighty, so if you want to buy some physical media this week, which I still do, but not this week, you can get Suspiria. I am going to buy that, though, the new Suspiria from Amazon. The original Suspiria, we've discussed this, is one of my most influential films on me as a filmmaker. But the new one's good in its own space. It's really good. And the Atmos sound mix is amazing. So we're going to be playing that in here for sure.
I was going to say, this would sound really nice in your theater room.
Reign of the Superman is out this week on Blu-ray and 4K. I'll probably get that too because I end up buying all the DC animated things because even the worst of them is still pretty entertaining.
I kind of want to see how they fit Reign of the Superman into a one movie. Like, for people who don't know, Reign of the Superman is... this movie is a direct sequel to Death of Superman, which was an anime movie that came out last year. No, I haven't seen the Death of the Superman one. So was Death of Superman, the comic event.
Yeah.
But basically what happens is Superman, air quote, dies in a fight against this alien monster called Doomsday. And these 4 other entities come forth to kind of claim the mantle. And
it took forever to get to even that point because I remember when Superman died, I mean, that was like a year-long thing or 6 months or however long it went to finish that. And then they had a whole series called A Funeral for a Friend. Yeah. And it ran across all the
books.
DC
all the
books.
main DC books had this funeral cover with black armbands. You could get special polybag sealed comics that came with a black armband for the Death of Superman.
I have one still polybagged up.
There you go.
It's probably worth about $12.
If that.
Yeah, but I have it. Yeah.
But yeah, once you got to that, this is where the 90s and 2000s incarnation of Superboy came out of. This is where Steel came out of, for anyone who's familiar with the character from the Shaquille O'Neal movie. You also had the Eradicator and Cyborg Superman, so you had 4 different characters.
And a lot of that stuff to me wasn't that good.
Yeah. And of course, none of them were actually Superman. Superman eventually comes back later. He
comes back, right.
But he's none of these characters.
So they did a thing, and I really wanted to go, but it was in the middle of the week, that where Regal Cinema showed Death of Superman.
Yeah,
and then premiered Reign of Superman back to back. But they started at 8 o'clock at night, and that's 3.5
movies,
hours. You know, so I didn't do it. But I want to see it. I'll probably, like I said, I like they do pretty decent job with their bonus features and commentaries and stuff, so I'll probably end up with it. Hunter Killer comes out this week. It's on Blu-ray and 4K. That movie was in the theater for like 2 minutes.
That was the Gerard Butler, Gary Oldman movie, submarine movie.
I heard terrible things. The Nutcracker and the Four Realms is out on Blu-ray and 4K. Boy Erased is out. Willow.
A new release of Willow.
Willow is out on Blu-ray, yeah. And The Wife, which is actually a good movie.
I want to see The Wife.
It's very good. It was one of the women writer movies of 2018 because there was like 3 of them and I saw them all. There was that one. There was Colette. And then, and then there was Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Oh, yeah.
So there were 3 movies back to back.
Of those, I've seen Colette. And Colette was still pretty good.
Colette was great.
Was good, yeah.
Colette still might be my favorite of the 3. The Wife is very good, too. I mean, all 3 of them are good.
Yeah.
And they're complete. The only thing that ties them together is a woman.
It's about a woman.
Well, no, wait.
Writing.
To be honest, there's a lot of similarity. If I'm 100% honest, there's a lot of similarity between Colette and The Wife. but they're in different eras.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's a woman writer who's overshadowed by the husband, and you know, different things.
But she's really like the power behind the throne, and okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the wife has some real strong actors in it. So
yeah, Glenn Close.
Glenn Close is amazing really in that movie, so you should see it.
Okay.
All right. So what do we have for comics?
From comics this week, for Marvel, we have Age of X-Men Alpha #1, which is the start of the Age of X-Men story arc. If you're familiar in the 90s with Age of Apocalypse, where all the X-Books took a break into this alternate reality version thing, that's what this is. They're doing another one based around the character X-Man, Nate Gray. There's also Amazing Spider-Man #14, Captain America #7, Doctor Strange #10, which is really Doctor Strange 400. It's the 400th
right. I
issue.
hate when they do that.
The thing I like that Marvel's been doing lately over the last year or so is they have the legacy number still on the issues.
Yeah.
Like you can look at the top corner where it has the issue number. There'll be like an LGY hashtag 400.
At least they give you that. At least they give it to you.
They used to do that too in the early 2000s because they did a whole run of rebooting a lot of the books, but then they started reverting the numbers back. And while they were counting down, and they did this with Spider-Man, they would have the issue 56 full volume number 490 something. So I'm glad that they do that because I like that they recognize that they should show the legacy of this book.
To me, it also kind of respects the people who stuck with it the whole time.
It lets them know it's like, we know you've been here this whole time. This is your benchmark, and I think it's a good middle ground because it's annoying to reboot books over and over again because of this, but it makes sense to reboot books because it does cause like growth in sales because people want to get in on #1s, and it makes sense when there's a radically different shift in creator
and
vision.
Sometimes it helps because the world gets too convoluted.
Yeah,
just to clean the slate and start again.
It really does. So a lot of times rebooting a book at #1 is a good idea, but it's also a good idea to show your history in that legacy number.
I agree.
And also Marvel Knights #6 of 6. From DC, we have, speaking of long storied numbers, we have Action Comics number 1007.
Dang.
And soon to be up there. Detective Comics number 997.
Holy cow.
So 3 issues away from 1000.
That is amazing.
Heroes in Crisis number 5 of 9. It's the current big DC hero story arc. We have Justice League Annual #1 and Wonder Woman number 63. In other books, we have Fight Club 3 #1.
That was the headline for your post.
Because it's easy to make a headline for it.
Yeah.
So Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote the original book for Fight Club, which the movie was based on, did a sequel comic a couple of years ago, Fight Club 2. And now he's got another sequel comic, Fight Club 3.
Does it still feature the same characters? Or
yeah, it's still the unnamed narrator and Tyler Durden, and they're back and forth.
Okay,
Marla,
that's cool.
the girlfriend's in there and all that. So yeah, it's the same story.
All right.
We also have James Bond 007 #3, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #35, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt #1, and Spawn #293.
All right. Cool. So I saw your post. You were contemplating storage. What was that about? Are you trying to figure out a new way to store comics?
I was trying to figure out. I asked a question to some of my social media followers. When you buy physical issues, single issues, do you bag and board them, which is put them in a poly bag and seal it with a cardstock board to keep it firm, which is the traditional collector route,
right?
Or do you just keep them bare, like put them in a box, like no extra sealing or anything? And
that would kill me. That would kill me.
Well, my typical process is to bag and board 2 issues at a time. So I have basically in the bag, it's comic board comic.
Okay.
So
I can see that.
When
I was a kid, I used to buy them that way.
Yeah, it's more economical. It's 2 comics, unless it's a specialty like a super anniversary issue or a big thick one, then just 1. But I was just kind of curious because it's always a pain to do that. Once you get your comics to build up, it's like, okay, now I have to bag and board them. And
and it's an additional cost that you have to add to it too, to buy the bags and boards.
More than I think the cost of the bag and boards, because they're not that bad. It's like $14 to $16 to get a set of 100. I think I'm discouraged from going back to read those comics because I have to go through the effort to unseal the bag and get them out of the
Oh,
bag.
that's right, because you tape them shut.
Well, I stopped doing that. I actually buy resealable bags. They have a little adhesive strip.
It'd be worth the money.
That makes it a lot better. Except the seal is very static, clingy. So once you like rip it off, you can just close it.
Can wrinkle up or whatever.
Well, the bag doesn't wrinkle up. It's just there's a seal over the adhesive on the poly bag on the back. And once you take that off and just rip it off, that part becomes trash, and then you can just close the flap down, and it adheres because of to the stickiness. But that trashy bit is just adhesive, and it's hard to throw off because it sticks to your fingers because of the static clean.
Oh, nerd troubles.
Yeah, yes.
Nerd life.
Yeah, totally. Like nerd life problems. It's crazy. But part of it is like I find myself with a dozen boxes of comics, and it's like I don't really go back and read a lot of them.
Right.
And I'm probably going to ask some more questions going forward. So if you have any thoughts on the matter, just follow me on Twitter at NikoScream, NikoScream. I think my next one is going to be: do you keep your books, like all your books? Do you only keep some of them? And if you get a trade version, do you then get rid of the comic version?
Right. So did you get any interesting answers about storage, or was it just kind of what you expected?
It was generally what I expected. Most people do bag and board, like I anticipated. I did see a couple of interesting answers about the storage of said bag and boards. I saw some people with some interesting shelving units. I saw a picture
of someone's shelving unit.
Yeah. Mine are just standard cardboard short boxes that I have on shelves. But
the long boxes are not manageable.
Long boxes over time they're heavy. So it's really hard to move them around. I used to do the 3-foot long boxes. I switched to the half-size short boxes because it's easier to pull them off shelves and one. But it's still going to be a pain in the ass when I eventually move out of my apartment.
So I wanted to put my answer on there because you know my answer to that.
Digital.
Buy them all digital. Yeah. The digital comics, though, unfortunately, and my problem is this, and I think about it a lot. Well, every week when I go to pick up some digital comic, I think about it because I still buy physical movies because I like to collect it, be able to collect them and display them.
Yeah.
And I am very insistent still on buying physical video games. Video games are different though, because I know when I'm done with it, and I'm going to go and sell it.
Yeah.
But that's something you can't do with a digital comic.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go now, maybe you're not going to get much of anything from most of them, but you could get rid of your comics if you needed space or if you wanted to buy new ones.
Yep.
That option is something that's available to you.
The weird thing about comics is the medium was inherently designed to be disposable. Like the comics were originally conceived in the early 1900s were not meant to be something that
you read it and toss it.
Yeah, you read it and toss it. It's meant to be digestible. And when the collector's market started happening in the late 20th century, that was a new phenomenon, and the comic format still isn't really great for that because these books are expensive for honestly the amount of content that you get per book. They
really are. That's why Mike on the show he always complains. He's like, I'm not going to buy comics because I can read a $4 comic in 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're really quick to do it, but I mean a lot of stuff goes into the work to make that.
Well, I was going to say I always challenge that because I appreciate the artwork.
Yeah, I appreciate the content goes into a comic. I think it's worth the value, but it's still a hard value to defend. I like digital, but honestly for me, other than I do have to at certain points buy new bags and boards, and at some point also buy new boxes. But I have enough boxes, so I'm not really concerned with that in a while. But I have a discount at a store because I have a whole box.
So you get the printed ones cheaper than I get the digital ones.
Exactly. Unless you get them on sale or you wait.
Which you can do with the graphic novel versions, especially.
Yeah, you can get them on sale. You can wait because Comixology does sales all the time. They do. You can usually wait a couple months, and that issue will fall into $1 cheaper or something.
That's like waiting to go to the theater, though. I just don't do it.
Yeah, I don't like doing it either. So for me, I get a 20% discount, whereas you pay the full retail cost.
Well, and there was that wonderful transitional time that we had where you could buy the paper version and get the digital one for free.
Marvel, I think, still does that with some of their books. I just never do it because it's annoying. It's not.
Well, it's an extra step you have to do.
Yeah, it's you have to peel off a sticker that's inside the comic to hope you don't damage the comic, and then you have to go into Comixology or the Marvel app and then enter a code. It's not even the QR code that the app has a photo that you can take a photo of, which would have been way easier. But no, it's an extra step, so I don't even bother with that. But I I have a lot of comics, and it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with all these at some point.
It's interesting. Now, see, I felt the same way about the digital copies of movies. But one day, for some reason, I just decided, I feel like at some point, the physical media for a film is going to go away. And what I see happening, at least I don't see this with anyone else, but I do see with iTunes, if you buy a movie, like if you've bought an HD movie from Apple and a 4K version comes out, they've been upgrading. You don't have to rebuy that movie. It just plays in whatever the best format is available based on your device. So I started thinking, well, if that's the case, then I should have the digital copies also. Because they always have a slip in the inside of the DVD case. So literally over a period of about a week, I went through every Blu-ray that I have, pulled the slips out, and every night I'd have my iPad in front of me before I go to bed, and I would enter some codes until I got them all. I've got 200-something codes in there now.
Here's the thing that Marvel does with theirs. Their code's only good for a limited amount of time.
Well, that's the way it is for movies, too. I lost some. I lost a number of them
because for Marvel, they expired. It's 6 months. So if you buy your comics regularly and do this regularly, it's not a problem. But if you try to get a used book, it's not likely the code will work. If it hasn't already been taken.
It's the same with Blu-ray. I think except that the legs are a little longer. I think they're usually a year. Yeah, sometimes longer, but I did have some that were a year old that I couldn't get the code to work anymore. So yeah, now I'm making an effort just to future-proof myself.
That makes sense.
And that's my only argument to you is if down the line you decide you don't want those books anymore because you don't have the space for them, you could still have hundreds and hundreds of comics at your disposal.
What I think I'm going to settle with is I will always have the space for the ones I want in book form. Like I may transition some from issue to trade paperbacks or hardbacks and do something with the single issues. Okay. And then the ones that I don't feel that tied to, I just like sell or something. Right. But I need to find that line because it is there are constantly books that I want that it's like, well, I may want to try it, but it costs a lot. And I'm considering going ahead and jumping into the Marvel Unlimited service. Marvel has a digital streaming option. But
isn't that a thing where if you let the service go, you don't get access to what you had though?
No, well, it's basically a library. You have access to everything that's on there. You can just
check stuff out. And
but the thing is, it's 6 months behind.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But it's 6 months behind. But you also have a huge back catalog. So stuff that is, I don't think they remove stuff. It's just stuff that they've had like forever that they've digitized and slowly put up there and putting out more and more and more of their back catalog. That is a treasure trove of so much Marvel content that I would be fascinated to try that. So I think I might at some point. It's a good opportunity to at least check out the books that I skipped.
And see, the thing that kills me, I'm kind of getting into this situation. I love these things. I love getting these books.
Yeah, the big encyclopedia books, the coffee table books.
Yeah, I love having, and I want more graphic novels.
I have that of DC.
Yeah, and I want more graphic novels of that too. So if you're listening to the audio version, I just held up a giant Marvel encyclopedia. But the other side of it too is I don't know, and I don't know why this is in me, but there's this collector side of me that even in the digital, I love to be able to sit down in here and pull up the Apple TV and swipe through 100 movies and pick something to watch. And
it's easy.
Yeah, and it's just, whereas if I'm going through a library like that, or even like Netflix or Hulu looking at movies, I get overwhelmed and annoyed. Yeah. But if it's my own library, I know what everything is.
We got,
Yeah, and it's easy. So that collector side of me will always have to find some way to have that stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Interesting discussion.
Yes, it was. It would not have happened if everyone been here.
Exactly, because everyone would have been staring at us going,
everyone would have been bored about
I have to pee. Can we make a cocktail?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll wrap this thing up. Where do we find you on the internet?
I said my Twitter earlier, Nico Scream. It's also the same one for Instagram, so you could follow photos there. I usually post about D&D or comic books, superheroes, things like that. So follow me there. And you could, if you were interested in comics, the full list of everything that came out this week is on CultureSmash.tv.
So follow me at all things CultureSmash. CultureSmash TV on Instagram. I posted a bunch of cat pictures today. You'll love those. And then CultureSmash on Facebook. And Family of Fear on Facebook also. We just got accepted into we're having our festival premiere in Alabama, and then we're going to be touring this year. So you'll see stuff about the documentary there. That's it.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
So we'll see you next week.